Hi, I'm Luke from Fantasy Football Scout, also known as Disabled in the community. I'm just going to give you a review of my last game week score for game week 12, where I managed to get 75 points. Fairly happy with that. I actually took a hit -4, so it was actually 71. But the big four at the back came through for me, which most people have got, which is the Chilwell, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, and James. They got the bulk of my points. I actually got all four of these in about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, I think, before most of the community there. So I'm really happy that I went there early, took a bit of a risk because James wasn't even nailed at that point, and it's really paid off me. It's kind of turned my season round. So those guys have done great. I also had Rafinha, unfortunately, who didn't play, so that was a bit disappointing because Livramento came in for just 1 point, so ended up playing a back five. Guita in goal. I actually had Sanchez who got sent off, so I could have just left it and had no goalkeeper because I didn't have a backup. But I decided it's kind of a -2 only if I bring in another keeper because obviously I would have got 0. And Guita got 3 points, so that only lost me out on 1 point. And now I've kind of got a different keeper, which I probably slightly prefer for the games incoming. So yeah, happy with that really. Foden with the 1 pointer. I think we had to start him regardless. He's obviously a great player. Man City. Home game with PSG, it was always likely he might come off early, but no problems with him moving forward really. Mbeumo got me 2, a little bit disappointing. That's been the story of his season. Salah sat there with 16 as captain. That's almost a weekly occurrence now, isn't it? Don't really have to say too much on that. Antonio with the 2 points. Again, a little bit disappointed. I know a lot of people have sold him because the fixtures have toughened up. His data's still good, but it's just not coming through for him at the moment. Luckily, not too many other forwards are performing, or at least ones that are owned, so it's not hurt too much. And then Harry Kane with the 2-pointer, another bit of a disappointment. It's all happening at the back for me, but not up front. Fixtures are obviously still there. I think Kane was a little bit unlucky to not come away with something, at least in the second half. Spurs that's a little bit better. So high hopes moving forward. But yeah, 75 in total, and most of it coming from the back and Salah as the same for most of the community, I think. Yeah, so the only change I'm really looking at for game week 13 at the moment, obviously we've still got games ongoing today and tomorrow, I think. So things could obviously change quickly. But I really like my team. The only thing I'm thinking about is getting Jota. I don't have Jota, and last week I heavily considered using a -4 and bringing him in for Rafinha or Mbeumo. And it turns out it would have worked out. Because obviously Rafinha didn't play, and Mbeumo just got the 2-pointer. So I would have actually paid for the hit because I think Jota got 8 points in the end. So annoyed at myself that I didn't take that risk earlier, but now I'll probably correct that and do it this week. I can afford it for Mbeumo, which would basically make my team, at least in my opinion, look really, really good on paper for a little while. So that's the move I'm looking at. Antonio away to Man City is obviously not a particularly great shout, but I think I still got so much blind faith in this guy that I think if anyone can score against Man City, it might be him. Aside from that, I'm happy with the rest of my team, which would obviously be the same as what I just said before. So just Jota in for Mbeumo. That's the plan at the moment. And I think home to Southampton, he's one of the best picks that week. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think actually for the last 3 or possibly even 4 weeks, if you'd have captained a one of these guys at the back that I've got here, so Cancelo, Chilwell, James, or Alexander-Arnold, you'd probably be ahead of those that are captain Salah each week, as long as you obviously got, the right one. That's always the issue. But I think this week you could do Trent or Alexander-Arnold over Salah. I think that would be totally fine. When you play Man United, you're always a little bit hesitant, but let's be fair, they haven't been great. So Chilwell James could churn it out again, and the same goes for Cancelo. I think there is an opportunity. I mean, I actually did that about 3 weeks ago. I captained Chilwell, and he scored and got a clean sheet, and I was really, really happy with that. Unfortunately, Salah played Man United later in the game week and ended up scoring a hat trick. So that was the one week I think that Salah actually scored when I would have done it, if that makes sense. So it kind of put me off since, but yeah, if you want to make ground now, I think everyone's team's getting so similar that the captain's armband is a way to do it. And like you say, it's incredibly risky because of his effective ownership. But that works both ways, right? So, if you take the risk and it works, you're just going to fly up the leaderboard. And it's incredibly hard to do it with differential players right now. So I suppose the captain is the way to go. Yeah, it's tricky. Kane's just got a history ever since he started playing for Spurs of scoring goals. He's basically never not really done it. He's gone through periods where he's got injured and then he's looked a bit leggy for a while, and he's taken a while to get back into it. But at the end of the season, he nearly always ends up with the goals. And the coming deep bit doesn't really bother me, and loads of strikers do that now. There's not many strikers who just stand completely up front. You know, even all the top teams basically have false nines in like Firmino and Foden. Do you know what I mean? And there's not many of these guys who just kind of stand up there. It's all about just getting shots, and that was the issue with Kane is he wasn't getting the service to get the shots away. He's probably one of the best shooters in world football. And as soon as those shot numbers start coming up, you get a little bit more confident. I think he took 4 shots last week. And from the highlights that I saw, at least, it looks like he could have scored. So as soon as Kane's getting shots, I'm happy. And the goals will inevitably come. I think the fixtures are good enough. Is he worth 12.2 million? Probably not. Not when you're going to captain Salah most weeks. But because we've got the spare money, it's almost like you can take that chance for a few weeks. And I think he'll come good in the next few weeks. I don't think he's a particularly long-term hold. And obviously Conte, it's a work in progress right now, but we haven't really got the time to wait because the good fixtures are now. So it's a little bit of a leap, you know, a little bit of a faith required. But yeah, he's getting the shot. So I think it's coming either this week or next, surely. One piece of advice, I think at the moment, our teams, or most of us, seem to be quite similar. And I think the next sort of real fixture turn is in about game week 16. That's when Man United start to have some good fixtures. You know, Palace is already good, you could argue, from now. You've also got the likes of Watford, I think, from 17, 18, who start to look good. So I think it's just any moves you make now, you've got to kind of bear in mind. I think it's going to be the Christmas period. You know, there's probably going to be a little bit more rotation. We've got a new set of fixtures coming up, and then we've also got the African nations. So you just have to have these things in the back of your mind and try and pre-plan as much as you can around that. So even if you're happy with the team, and I think we're going to go through some teams in a minute, a lot of them look really good, and it's hard to say what to do in these first few weeks. But I think just sort of bear in mind in a few weeks' time where you're going to put your money. I think at least having 2 good players on the bench. When I say good, they don't have to be expensive. You know, mine's Gilmore and Livramento. I mean, Gilmore's not been playing, but it looks like he will now under Dean Smith. So I'm happy with those two. I'm not happy with Davis. I'd prefer another one. But if you could get to like a Dennis at 5 million, I think that would be really good. You know, like a 4.5 player midfielder, a Livramento or a Ben White, and then maybe a Dennis or a Brozier as the striker if you're playing with 2 up front. I think that should carry you pretty well through Christmas. So I think that's probably my tip.